Protesters in the U.S. state of Minnesota have taken to the streets for a second night after a young black man was shot dead by police near Minneapolis. The officer who fired at 20-year-old Daunte Wright says that she confused her gun with her taser. Tensions in Minneapolis were already running high before this latest incident. A white former police officer, Derek Chauvin, there is currently on trial, charged with the murder of George Floyd. The president is appealing for peace.
The last moments of Daunte Wright's life, recorded by the body cam of the police officer who fatally shot him. 20-year-old Wright is arrested during a traffic stop. He struggles free and gets back in the car. Then police say the footage shows that the officer used her gun by mistake.
As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I've viewed and the officer's reaction in distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
Anger spilled out onto the streets hours after Wright's killing. A dusk to dawn curfew was imposed to stop further unrest. But protesters gathered for a second night in the suburbs of Minneapolis, outraged by yet another death of a black man at the hands of a police officer.
Violation of the curfew and are required to disperse.
President Joe Biden appealed for calm.
But we do know that the anger, pain, and trauma that exists in the black community in that environment is real. It's serious and it's consequential. But it will not justify violence and/or looting.
But the shooting of Daunte Wright has fueled tensions in a city already on edge over another notorious case. Not far from where Wright was shot, Derek Chauvin, the officer who killed George Floyd, is on trial for murder.
And let's get more. We are joined by Sloan Martin, who is a reporter and anchor for a local radio station in the area in Minneapolis. Thank you so much for joining us. There's anger on the streets, as we've been seeing after this latest killing. What's happening? Walk us through it.
Well, things have been quite calm tonight, but that was after a pretty large crowd dispersed, and there was tear gas put off by police, those non-lethal munitions as well to try and disperse the crowd. State officials put in a curfew for 3 counties in the Twin Cities metro area from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., so still several more hours left in this curfew to try and make sure that damage to property and any other violence is kept to a minimum. But we do know that several thousand people were out again in Brooklyn Center. There were some other break-ins reported in other spots in the Twin Cities, including in South Minneapolis, where that was an area that was very badly hit in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. But protesters demanding justice in this case, even though there was the quick release of the police body camera video, there really is a really strong call for reform in policing in Minnesota.
Absolutely. And we know for the officer's part, the claim there is that the officer intended to reach for the taser, instead reached for the gun. I'd like to ask you, are people buying that there on the ground? And has that claim done anything to de-escalate the situation?
I don't know if it's a matter of if people are buying it or not. I think it further lends evidence to what protesters have been saying about overall reform of policing, that it can't be acceptable that a mistake like this, which Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called a tragic but careless mistake, could lead to someone losing their life in a routine traffic stop, first of all, and second of all, in a case where the warrant that was out in his name was for a misdemeanor offense, and that ending up in a fatal situation is something that's very difficult for people to accept. So even though you hear in the body camera video where the officer, who's a 26-year police veteran, this is not someone that is new. This is someone who also has been a leader in their police unit, who has helped defend other officers who have been in officer-involved shootings, that she would know her way around being a police officer. So to other people in this community, that's very alarming. And that's why they are continuing to be very vocal about wanting concrete change. They said, law enforcement officials, state lawmakers, for example, the governor, have had almost a year now since Floyd died, that something should happen. And here's another example, and they think that this should have been avoided.
Absolutely. Sloan Martin, reporter and anchor at WCCO News Radio in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you.